Hey there, welcome to the DFS Build Thursday Night Football Edition. Jets and Patriots. It is going to be ugly out there, folks. But hey, if you want to play Thursday Night Football DFS at DraftKings and you want good plays and you want to win, keep watching this video because I'm going to point you to some good plays and hopefully help you get that bank, baby. You can get extra advice for free if you head to our Discord. And if you want our premium plays for every slate that we cover, NFL, NBA, MMA, and we're even dishing out NHL picks these days, hit us up at dfsbuild.com. Just $5.99 a month for everything that we're doing. It is what they call a value. Hopefully we give you value here in this video, which is 100% free, and we can point you to some good plays. So let's get to it. This slate is gross. No denying that. We have a 43.5 total with a 13.5 point spread now. Yeah, it's gross. But yeah, we can still take advantage of it because obviously people are going to want to be Patriots heavy with the Patriots massive favorites at home. Here's the deal. This is still a divisional game, AFC East battle. The Jets are not going to just roll over. I mean, they could because they're the Jets, but they did win their last two games. They've been pretty competitive on the year. Like certainly they've gotten housed a couple times because they're not very good, but they do have fight in them. And after winning 7 straight games, like it would not be that shocking at night on a short week against a rival for the Patriots to just lay an egg, because it seems like everybody's doing that this year where they have just one really random bad game that makes you question reality and whether or not they're Super Bowl contenders and whether or not this MVP run that Drake May is on is actually worthy of him being crowned. So that is the outlier. Like, should the Patriots dominate the Jets? Absolutely, but they might not, so we want to look at it the other way if we can. The way I do this, I break it down by looking at the captain spot, look at the projections and the ownership and the matchups. I just kind of walk through the top plays of the slate and see who do I want to play, where's the ownership at, and where can we get leverage. So I'm not going to waste a lot of time on the obvious plays. Drake May, TreVeyon Henderson, Breece Hall, those are the three top plays in terms of projection, and then you can also work in Stephon Diggs if you want to talk ownership. So, right, like Drake May looks great. The Jets traded away Quinnen Williams, they traded away Sauce Gardner, so whatever semblance of defense they did have is not reliable anymore, and Drake May has just been a machine. 18 plus fantasy points in each of his last 5 games. He had 1 dud against the Bills. Other than that, he's been like pretty damn good all year. Dual threat ability. He's got plenty of weapons. He's at home. He's a big favorite. What more do you really want? Only issue at all is going to be he's going to be the second highest owned player on the slate. I don't really care about that. I think you can just play Drake May in the captain if you want to. The only issue is you do want to get a little bit different, because if you're playing the Millie Maker or something and you get duped, that's not fun. Like, you don't want to have the best lineup but also be tied with like 500 people, and then you go from, oh, holy shit, I'm winning the Millie Maker, to nope, you're actually only winning $250 or something stupid like $2,000 or whatever it is. A win is a win, but let's actually get first place, right? All by our lonesome. So if you do captain Drake May, you just got to be creative and do something or one or two things that nobody else is doing and make your lineup different. So honestly, I say it every time, but the reality is, if there is a way to gain leverage while not sacrificing that much floor and upside in the captain spot, I want to do that right away. So I'm going to like play Drake May in a ton of my lineups. If you actually do a core for, a showdown slate, I would say May has to be in that core. If I'm rolling out a ton of lineups, he would probably be in 70-80% of my lineups, maybe more. He just, barring injury, Drake May has the clearest path to a safe amount of points, 12 to 15 fantasy points on the gross slate, and one of the higher ceilings. TreVeyon Henderson as the most owned captain is interesting because he had been doing absolutely nothing until busting off last week. Now, a little bit of context here. First of all, the Patriots have been weird with Henderson. Like, he's a super, super explosive back coming out of Ohio State. We knew that, but they would refuse to give him full touches. They refused to let him run near the goal line. That still is happening, by the way. They did use him more in that regard last week, but he scored his 2 touchdowns on really long runs against a very good Buccaneers front 7. So you could argue that he kind of got a little bit lucky in that game, or just things finally went his way. Whatever have you, like, in terms of ceiling, there's no denying that TreVeyon Henderson is a very appealing play. Like, the Jets, they don't have Quinnen Williams up front anymore. So the Jets already are like a bottom 15 run defense. Like they're already like either right around mid or worse. And now they're just going to lose that ability because they don't have their best run stopper up the middle. So Henderson certainly could go off again here, but I tend to lean into the whole recency bias thing and the fact that if you actually watched what he did against the Buccaneers, he didn't do that much beyond those 2 runs. And the Patriots have been just weird with him. So if he's going to be the chalk, I'm just going to play him in the flex when I play him, and I'm going to have lower captain exposure than the field is going to. That doesn't mean I'm going to not play him in the captain at all. I just think overall, going away from him being a 20% owned captain play is something I want to do. And if that burns me, it burns me. It's Thursday Night Football. In a game with this spread and this total, I'm not going to be investing a ton of cash. In this kind of slate. It's just kind of gross. It's kind of like tonight we have NBA 3-game slate. I'm not going to go heavy on a 3-game slate because you need to get it like exactly right. You don't have a lot of wiggle room. And it's even more so that way with a showdown slate. If you have a bigger slate, all the other lineups you're going up against, there's more of a likelihood that they miss 1 or 2 plays as well. So on a smaller slate though, the lineups that they soar to the top and win make no mistakes. And it's just really hard to compete with that. So you still probably want a lot of exposure to Henderson. I just think shifting him over to the flex with May is a great way to start builds. Like the Patriots are 13-point favorites at home. It is a positive matchup. These guys have the 2 best projections of the slate. I still want them. I just don't want to eat the chalk because if I'm going to get to the top of these tourneys, I want to get different in a big way. I think the first way we can get different and feel like reasonably good about it in terms of floor and ceiling is going to be Breece Hall. He comes in as the 3rd most expensive player, but he also has the 3rd best projection, and he's actually only the 4th most owned player on this slate right now. That's not nothing. Like 10% ownership is still 10% ownership, but I wouldn't be that shocked based off of where the ownership is going right now if that dips a little bit. Because for one, if people actually go look at the matchups, the Patriots are number 1 against fantasy running backs on the year in terms of rushing yards allowed. Like they're not giving anything up on the ground. So obviously that's disconcerting. The way we go after Breece, though, especially if this ownership holds and he's going to be kind of overlooked a little bit, is the passing game. The Patriots give up the most receptions to running backs at 61 catches on the year. And I'm going to kind of ignore they give up receiving yardage too. It's like the 6th most receiving yards to running backs, only 1 touchdown now. But I'm going to kind of ignore the touchdown thing because Breece Hall is so explosive. And obviously he's still giving us value near the goal line. And as a runner, he could always bust one. You just never know. In the name of Travion Henderson, you just never know. But he's so explosive, so dynamic. The role is so big. And they do give up so much production to pass catching backs that, number one, if you like prop bets, hammer the 2+ on his catches and even go for 3 or 4 if you want to climb a ladder there. That looks pretty appealing to me. But it's an advantageous spot in terms of, if Justin Fields can dump the ball off to him. And if they're trailing, why wouldn't they give him the ball more as a receiver, get him in space and see if that speed can kill? So right away, my favorite play up top, if we're spending big and want to play a guy who, has that projection, has that floor, has that ceiling, Breece Hall is the way to go for me. Stephon Diggs is right there with him. He's a little bit cheaper, a little bit more owned. He's just been super reliable. I don't see like a massive ceiling here because if the game does get out of hand, he could be part of it, sure. He's just not really a high volume guy. Like last week he had 8 targets. That was his most targets in like 5 games. So just like, I don't know, like he's a fine play, but at the ownership where he's coming in, like that's not something I get very excited about. The Patriots are very good with efficiency and accuracy and on-time plays and spreading the ball out. They don't just feed Diggs 10 times a game. So paying $14.7K for an owned Diggs in the captain in a game where there's 13-point favorites, that feels kind of bad. If he was like sneaky and like unowned, I'd be all over Diggs just because he has that big play upside. But yeah, I think it makes sense to go away from him a bit. You can still go May, Diggs, or May, Henderson, or pair all 3 of those guys in the flex if you want to. You just have to do a punt in the captain if you're going to do that. But I think going away from Diggs, like as a whole, is probably a pretty advantageous thing to do on this slate. It might not work out, but I think it is a good strategy. After those top guys, Justin Fields in the captain is very interesting, assuming he starts. Aaron Glenn is doing this weird thing where he doesn't want to tell us whether Fields or Tyrod Taylor is starting. I don't know if he thinks it gives him an edge against the Patriots. It doesn't. I don't know why he's doing that. Fields has been contained by his own team lately. They just are not like really letting him do anything. He attempted 11 passes last week. I mean, they won the game. You can't really, argue that. And then, the game before that, was it actually the game before that? I think that bye. They had a bye somewhere in there. But point is, they've won the last two games. Like he's been playing well enough for them to win, and we'll see what happens. If he's in there, though, 4% owned captain Fields is very appealing. I will say this: excuse me, the Patriots are very good against fantasy quarterbacks, against fantasy mobile quarterbacks. They've actually given up some production to quarterbacks as a whole. They've given up 18 touchdowns through the air, so that's not nothing. That's like top 5 or something. Yeah. So they've definitely given up production to passing quarterbacks. Obviously, Fields is not the most reliable source there. I think the interesting thing is, like, if you look at the Patriots' numbers that they've given up to mobile quarterbacks, they've given up like nothing. No rushing scores on the year. 119 total rushing yards. However, if people are going to actually read into that and be scared of Fields, I'm very interested in Fields for this reason alone. The one time they faced a truly good mobile quarterback, Josh Allen ran 9 times for 53 yards. Fields is faster than Josh Allen. If they're actually going to give up volume like that and let him roll out and get to work, I think he could definitely explode a little bit and inflate those season-long numbers. If you go look at their schedule, New England has not faced any other truly good mobile quarterbacks. Like, excuse me, Bryce Young. Like, what is that? That's not a Justin Fields or a Josh Allen. One time they did, the guy accounted for half of the production they've given up to quarterbacks on the ground on the year. So very excited to exploit that. Very excited to chase that very low captain ownership. Obviously, he's at risk of getting benched in a game with a massive 2-touchdown spread. But these are the chances we want to take, baby. Justin Fields is captainable without even stacking with him, a true wide receiver. You could captain Fields with Brees or vice versa. I just feel like you're gaining massive edge with 4% Fields in the captain, and just hoping they stay reasonably close, hoping he busts this narrative that the Pats are really good at stopping mobile quarterbacks when that's not even necessarily true. And then we can find a low-owned Jets passing game option too that we could flip-flop in the captain if we want to do that. Although jury's out on that one. I mean, that's gonna be tough. Another interesting play who is carrying a little bit of steam is gonna be Hunter Henry. If he's gonna be super owned, like, I'm okay going away from that. That said, no Austin Hooper this week. The Jets do give up production to the tight end position. I think it's just in the touchdown game. Yeah, second most touchdowns, 7 allowed on the year, 2 tight ends. Hunter Henry, if he's nothing else, he is a touchdown scorer. He's only scored touchdown in 3 games on the year, but this would be a game where that probably would pop up and have him showing value. In the name of Austin Hooper, you can go down and look at like CJ Dupree or whoever else ends up backing up. Who's their fullback? Is he even listed in here? No. They have a fullback in there. I can't remember his name, like Westhover or something, because he's a fullback and he doesn't do anything. But he could end up playing like some tight end snaps or just being used a little bit because they don't have, other than if this CJ Dupree guy is active, they just don't have anybody else behind Hunter Henry. And of course, if Hunter Henry gets hurt or they want to use 2 tight ends or whatever the case, we could see more of Dupree if active or this fullback guy. So those guys are capable punts in terms of like, do we want to just go play a guy who's like $200 in the captain or something? Just not guys that like are reliable at all. But Hunter Henry is a good play. I just don't really love the ownership. I don't really love the projection. The price at 8.1 in the captain, I think he's an okay captain play, and you just never know. If he comes out and scores 2 touchdowns, he could absolutely break the slate. So I do like him a good deal. Kickers on a short week. Yeah, man. I mean, Nick Folk has not missed a kick all year. Andres Borregales, first time I've ever said that name. he's really expensive in the captain slot. I don't want to captain either kicker, but this game could be very ugly. This is one of the rare situations where I actually would consider it more than usual. 43 total, 13.5 point spread, division rivals. Yeah, we should have interest in the kickers for sure. You can certainly pair them if you want to. Captaining a kicker will be unpopular, and it certainly could end up there. There is a universe where that is the way, so we can certainly consider that. In the name of going away from Diggs and maybe going a little bit away from Hunter Henry, Mac Hollins is interesting. But if he's going to be owned, I'm not that excited to play Mac Hollins. And here's why. 10 targets last week, like kind of out of nowhere. Like if you look at his game log, that was his second most targets possibly ever in his life, certainly on the season. And he popped up for 19 fantasy points. I would very much bet that Mac Hollins isn't going to repeat that. So he has an elevated price tag. He costs too much. It doesn't really seem like he's going to be that owned, though. So I guess you could flip it and be like, hey, if nobody wants to double down on Mac Hollins getting an expanded role in crushing, let's go play Mac Hollins, baby. Like you could. You certainly can. But they just spread it out so much. So like it's kind of like, okay, so Mac Hollins popped off last week. Whose turn is it now? My vote so far is probably Hunter Henry. But then you also have guys that you want to throw into the mix, Demario Douglas. But by the way, Kayshon Boutte is out. So this is why we're talking about Patriots wide receivers. And then you have Kyle Williams. So I think Kyle Williams is going to be a very popular punt at 3K. And just another flex play at 2K in the flex that people are going to be very interested in. And rightfully so. He took a catch 72 yards to the house last week. But he only had 2 targets. And obviously, he needed a 72-yard touchdown to nuke. So the explosive ability and talent is there. And no Boutte does open up the possibility that he gets an enhanced role. So he's a good play. I don't have any problem with him. Am I banking on him busting off a 72-yard touchdown? No. And am I demanding that he gets like 8 targets or something? No. He is a shot in the dark still, and he's a rookie in a spread out offense. So the more likely scenario is he's not super involved and he comes back down and gets like 5 fantasy points after crushing, the game before. The wide receiver situation I'm a little bit more interested in as far as like testing out punts and like taking shots is going to be the Jets because Garrett Wilson is out. And whether it's Fields benched or out there slinging it, the Jets are probably going to be playing from behind in this game. Pretty good chance Breece Hall is reaping all the benefits of that. But we're looking at Tyler Johnson. Godspeed, my friends. But he played 43% of snaps each of the last 2 games. Looking at the corpse of John Mechie III, Arian Smith. By the way, Arian Smith, if you're going to do a Jets punt at wide receiver, Arian Smith is very interesting. Elite athlete, okay? Not super productive in college, but big play guy. And we had like a 93.6 RAS score or something, like just a freak athlete. And it actually should have been higher. But his height and weight dinged him in the scoring process. So Adonai Mitchell, he might actually get his debut here. So he's very interesting as well. I'm going to be rotating Jets wide receivers in my captain slot. I'm getting like 10% to a couple of these guys. I'm going to be a little bit aggressive with it. But I'm going to kind of take take stands. Like Adonai Mitchell, if he is in, he's super, super talented. And no Garrett Wilson, like if he's making his debut, I'm taking a chance on that if everybody else is scared to do it. Isaiah Davis back up to the Jets. You could always play in-game injury for Breece Hall, or you could vulture a touchdown. I think he's more of a flex play, though. Allen Lazard was inactive last game, but obviously with Wilson out, pretty decent chance he ends up playing. He's always in play. So Mitchell, Lazard, Mechie, Johnson, these guys are all going to play. They're all very cheap, and the Jets are probably playing from behind. So the Patriots have allowed 18 touchdowns through the air on the season. Go Jets passing game, baby. Jeremy Ruckert, backup tight end. I don't want to miss Mason Taylor up here. He's just extremely hit or miss. Very good talent. Definitely has flashed massive upside. He's had a couple of really good PPR games. Not expecting the world from him. Really good flex play. Okay. I'm looking at the Jets here, but the Patriots, I think they've given up some production to the tight end position. Yeah, I mean they have. They're like bottom 10 against tight end, so they are giving up production. It's dicey though still because Mason Taylor is all over the place, and for whatever reason, like Justin Fields locked in on him back against that Dallas game, and then really has not been able to establish connection since. That said, Mason Taylor at 6K, I think it's a fair captain play for sure, and an elite flex play. So I'll make sure I don't miss anybody that I'm excited to play, like Terrell Jennings. Everybody? Terrell Jennings? No, this is touchdown Vulture City. If he's in, he is questionable. So if he's out, obviously Travion Henderson gets a massive boost because I can't imagine they feel great about feeding Dearness Johnson and whatever other guy they would elevate from the practice squad. Yeah, I think Henderson would just get a boost. So those are all the main plays. I guess the defenses too deserve a shout, specifically the Patriots defense. I'm not going to play the Jets defense. Like obviously anything can happen, but such a massive spread going on the road on a short week, I just doubt it. And they traded away like their two best defensive players. The defense has been better the last couple of games, but that's just not something I'm going to bank on. Patriots defense 100% in play. Fields could get benched or not even start because Aaron Glenn is a genius. Fields takes sacks, he fumbles, he can throw picks and stuff. So Patriots defense is definitely in play. You can captain them. That would certainly be unique, even though they'll be a popular flex play. I just don't think that's really the way I'm going to approach the slate. I think what I'm going to do is definitely play a lot of May and Henderson. I'm going to go away from Diggs. I'm going to target Henry over Diggs a bit, and then I'm going to attack Breece Hall over the field on Breece Hall, and also Fields, assuming he starts. So I don't see why he wouldn't. And then also rotate these Jets passing game options and hope that we can hit one, stacked with Fields and maybe Breece as well, and go that way. All right, so hopefully that just gives you an idea of like which top level plays make the most sense, who's in a good matchup, where the ownership is, and all that. And then like the rest is just conjecture. It's just my opinion being thrown out there and just letting you know, hey, this is how I approach slates. This is how I'm kind of approaching this slate. And like you can then decide if you want to join me there, go under or over on some of these plays and just kind of play with it. If you use a lineup tool like you're seeing here, Roto Grinders on the screen, I'll just give you a look real quick. Like if we go with what I'm saying, if we go over to the flex, and like I don't want to fade, like on average, I don't want to fade Drake May for sure. And I probably don't want to fade Travion Henderson. So one thing I would be very interested in doing is captaining Fields at this ownership, 4%. If that sticks, like Fields, like that's my favorite captain right now. Like that's insane to me. I think if the ownership ticks up, like I'm pretty interested in like going after his passing game weapons. And also I like Breece Hall a lot. But then, like, obviously, I'd want Fields down here, too. So we have 3 spots locked. Let's just see. Let's go up to 150 lineups real quick just to get us a good combination and just see what the system punches out. Like, I don't want to just rely on the system every time when I run the lineups. I want to have, a little bit of context, a little bit of insight added to the process. Just because the system is going to mostly push you out the most optimal lineup, and it's, unless you tweak it, it's going to really focus more on like a cash game setting, which is fine. I mean, we definitely have seen cash game lineups like go to the top a lot this year. So I like this for sure. Kyle Williams in the flex. I already said I like him. I mentioned John Mechie. I would still play with that. Like if I'm going to roll out this kind of lineup, I would definitely rotate Mechie with Arian, Adane, like all these guys, and just like, hopefully we hit on that. We have Breece there too. You certainly could consider making a rule where you don't have Fields and Breece in the same lineup, but we've seen positive correlation between them too on the year, especially with this matchup against the Pats who give up a ton of catches, and if Fields is going to dump the ball to Breece and he goes off for a 70-yard touchdown, that's positive correlation, my friends. So certainly something to keep in mind. I like this lineup a lot. I think if you want to enter a lot of lineups like it, you would rotate Breece and Fields in the captain, maybe pop Fields or pop Mechie or Kyle Williams in the captain, swing Fields down, and then upgrade over one of these cheap guys. Whatever the case, this right now is fairly chalky. You're getting way major leverage on the field with Fields in the captain, so that's a great start. And then Fields and Williams right now are not like insanely owned, so it could be contrarian enough to win, assuming it hits. But you might want to even try to gain more leverage and go. Let's see where the ownership is in the flex for some of these other Jets guys. So, look, if you captain Fields, what are you assuming? You're assuming Fields is going to have a monster game, right? And at 4% ownership, that's great. You're off to a great start. If he gets like 28 fantasy points, you are nuking. You have May and Henderson, so you're blocking all the ownership with that chalk. That's great. Then where do we go, right? So Mechie is what? I'm struggling to find Mechie because he's in this lineup right now. 14% on Mechie. So the first thing I would do is get away from Mechie and go find somebody else on the Jets that is like half the ownership, if not less, like Adonai Mitchell. But how do we get there when that's $2,000 more than I need, right? So that's the thing we have to work out. Do we have to drop down from Brees and go up from Mechie to Mitchell, or can we drop down from Kyle Williams and pivot to a less owned Arian Smith? So that's the kind of thing we want to think about. Depending on how many lineups we're doing. Again, it's Thursday Night Football. I wouldn't get too aggressive. I'm probably just going to make one lineup with this kind of process in mind. And right now I'm looking at Fields as my favorite play if this is where the ownership is. I do a full write-up on this too to kind of like contextualize everything. I put it right all in front of you. If you want even more help, you can ask for free advice in Discord. Hit the link in our description. And of course, if you want to hit up the site, dfsbuild.com, $5.99 a month to get access to that write-up and everything else that we do. We pop out like 5 posts a week just on the NFL DFS main slate. We push out MMA DFS core plays, and we're doing NBA DFS core plays and advice every single day, including today, of course. All right, that does it. That was a long-winded way of saying I actually kind of like this slate, and hopefully I pointed you in the right direction, and we can win some money tonight. Thanks for watching, and good luck.